Rub it in.
All right, the time is now 6:30. Call this meeting to order. Bring the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will start with our roll call. Lynn?
Here.
Sean? Here. Gary? Here. Pete? Don?
Here.
Stephanie?
Here.
Lisa?
Here.
Linda's not here. She notified me she was sick and not going to be able to make it. Did not hear from Gary. All right, first order of business is review and acceptance of the minutes from January 15th. Again, I would like to thank Don for running the meeting. Are there any corrections or amendments or additions that need to be made? Excuse me, before I go any further, Lisa, in the absence of Linda, I was expecting one privilege to do the meeting. Lisa? Back to minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from January 15th.
All right. Sean has made a motion to accept the minutes from January 15th, 2025.
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Sean, seconded by Don. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, I will abstain since I was not here.
I'd like to abstain since I was late.
Okay.
I'd like to abstain since I was late.
Okay. So we have 4 in favor, 2 abstentions, the motion passes. Next, what I would like to do is motion to add to the agenda, and that is to correct the minutes for December 18th. They were tabled at the last meeting because of a problem with on roll call. It says Gary made a motion to seat Lisa Kerr as a voting member for tonight's meeting, seconded by Lisa, which really doesn't make any sense. Motion carried unanimously. Gary was not here, so he cannot make that motion. And looking at the content, I don't believe it was actually a motion. I believe that it was more of a procedure, and that I would have extended voting privileges to Lisa for the evening, and she would have accepted. And I believe that is the correction that needs to be made. Any other questions? All right, if not,
I can leave that one.
okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so Don has made a motion that we accept the minutes for December 18th with the amended, or I should say the correction made about the procedure about appointing voting privileges to Lisa for the evening. All right. We have a motion to accept with that amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. What? Oh, correct, thank you. Are you seconding it? All right, motion made by Don, seconded by Sean. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? All right, that motion carries. On to new business. To review the town financial report. Do we have any pertinent questions that could possibly be addressed to the finance manager? Specifically in regards to patrons.
Do you want me to speak on some of the revenues that we received?
Yes, I
Yeah,
would,
I
please.
could, okay, so you can see that we got Town Aid Road, 143,570. We got that in January 22nd. Ashetucket Pequot, you can see that we have 54,000 still left to collect. We should be receiving that in March and June. Every year is when we receive those payments. Our telephone access line, I haven't yet received that. We receive that in March and April of every year, so you'll shortly get that. You usually ask me about special duty revenue for the police department. Right now, I have received to date, what I received for revenue is $43,000. Canterbury Fire Department, well, it's the fire marshal contribution, Canterbury to the town of Plainfield. They haven't paid yet, we contacted them, I'm just waiting. Usually they pay half the year and half the year, but I haven't received anything yet. Next year, we anticipate bringing that revenue line up to $15,000. So, yeah. You can see our taxes, property taxes, back taxes, and supplemental taxes, received all payments through January 2025. Supplemental tax is beneficial, received $37,000 more. Back tax is the same way, $147,000. And the property tax, we still have 6% left to collect, $1.8 million. So we plan on having a tax sale in like the fall of 2025.
Make property on that.
I don't know, she told me a bunch. That's all she said, she didn't give me a number. She said there's a bunch of properties going to be on the tax sale.
Any questions on this first page?
Mercy. Anything on Mercy yet?
Oh, municipal sharing, yeah. So that usually comes in May or June. That's the end of the year, I usually receive payment. I recently did a form for them, attesting how we'll spend the money. So after I usually fill that form out, money comes out by the state. So I'm just waiting.
Okay.
Under the assessor, appraisals, we still have 100% left in that. When
Yeah,
does that usually start hitting us?
so appraisals,
Or is that basically a budgeted, anticipated expense that goes throughout the year?
it's a budget anticipated throughout the year. In case she needs to do any appraisals on the properties, if someone comes back and claims that they're not okay with their assessed value, then we have to get an appraisal done.
So we haven't encountered much of that
No.
this year at all.
No, there is a suit going on, but obviously it didn't hit the appraisal, so, yeah.
Any other questions on that page?
Page 3, the election.
Yep.
That looks like a,
We had a grant from the state of Connecticut that covered a bulk of that expense.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's beneficial to us, yeah. That grant came out in like the fall, I want to say. Yeah, it was like 20,000.
Well, we'll probably use a lot of that and stuff.
Yeah, we will, yeah. You'll see that, yes.
All right, I noticed under building and grounds, we haven't used any vehicle expense this year, so that means we haven't had any necessary.
No, because they have 2 new trucks they both got, I want to say last year's budget, so
Yeah.
there's nothing. I mean, minimum oil changes, I think they're putting that in their office supply line item, not the vehicle line item. That's
Why
the
would
only
they do
thing that
that?
occurred. What?
Why would you do that?
Maybe a misposting? I don't know. I'm assuming that. Or maybe the filters were bought by the highway department and, because we were going up to the highway department for the oil changes.
the new truck, that new vehicle, right? We get a pre-oil change in the meantime?
What, like the new trucks that we got?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The highway, I know the highway department, they keep like a file on it and they'll say when the oil change was done, the date, all of the above. Yeah.
Are we anticipating a need of a line item transfer for overtime? later in the year?
For buildings and grounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, depending on storms,
Yeah.
the next few weeks.
If they
Usually-
go out to sea or?
Yeah, and then in the springtime, if we get a rainstorm.
I got a question on that, back on page 2, the
Yep.
assessor. You have nothing in there for vehicle expenses, and she has a vehicle that has been damaged in the parking lot?
Yeah, there's no expense, we haven't touched that, that's just sitting there right
Yeah,
now.
but how do we take care of her car?
It goes to
And what
supply,
fuel
she
is it?
just puts it to supply and expenses. That's where it is. Yeah. So what we do is we allocate out gas charges to each department, and that's where it's gonna be posted, because she doesn't have a vehicle line item. We can add that going forward, for sure.
Has there any discussion now, what we're going to do about that vehicle that's damaged?
In next year's budget, maybe have a vehicle for next year's budget. I don't know. That might be a discussion, during budget season.
You seem to be okay with sand and gravel so far?
Yeah, we at the end of last year, we loaded it because we had money in the budget, so we're pretty good, yes.
Salt?
Yes,
All right.
Yeah.
Salt.
yeah, salt is good too, yep. Just so you guys know, the last storm that we had for the highway department, it would cost $14,700 in overtime. Yeah, for this past weekend.
I may have asked this question in the past, the police department, holiday pay is front-loaded?
Holiday pay is not front-loaded.
It's not front-loaded.
No.
so
Holiday
that's
pay,
gonna
each holiday. So whether you work it or you don't work it, if you don't work it, you get paid so much. If you work it, you get double time and a half.
So that may become something that we have to address.
Yes, I think the police department will be coming to the Board of Selectmen and then probably to the Board of Finance.
How much short do you think they are
And what line item?
in holiday pay?
40,000,
Maybe around 40 in there?
probably.
On the HVAC, there.
Yep.
Been going
Oh,
on with that.
HVAC, yeah. We went out to bid for it, contacted the company, just waiting for them to set up, the date and time they're gonna go to the police department. But the vendor has been contacted, they received the bid, they're good to go.
Is that for the building?
For the building and the warehouse, I guess you call it? Yeah, for both.
That's not,
What'd you say?
that's not enough.
Well, if you add that plus the other, on the back page, I think under fund balance,
Okay.
they have money in there for the warehouse. 38,000. So the combination of the two. You'll see under building inspector, you're gonna need a line item transfer for the contracted part-time inspector, but you'll have money left over in your department head, so we'll just move it from that to that line. So it'll stay within the department.
How short do you think we are there?
5,000.
Short about 5,000?
Yeah, we'll have 5,000 in one line and just move it up, yeah.
Need 5 more.
Yeah, we're gonna take it out of the department head and move it to the part-time. Yep, and then you should be good.
We don't spend any money for marketing for EDC.
So she's doing these, I think, pamphlets, and they're going out shortly. So it's just gonna get posted yet. Yeah, she has that going.
Down insurance.
Yep.
Sick and vacation.
Sick and vacation, yes. What is it? So those are sick and vacation, per union contracts. They can get paid out in July or January if they accumulate over so many hours. So that's what that represents.
Right. So, look like good there.
I'm hoping, yes. We should be good to the end of the year.
Okay.
I think everyone absorbed it already. Unemployment, we have one person on unemployment right now. And then general insurance and workers' comp, you have one more payment to make for the end of the year, and then you'll be done.
How big is that payment?
About like 40,000, maybe 38,000 for general and like 42 for workers' comp.
So we'll have just enough.
Yeah, you'll just have enough. General insurance, if anyone gets in a car accident or anything like that, that's where I go to for the $1,000 deductible. So we've had quite a few of them this year. So that's where it comes out of.
What do we attribute that to?
Poor driving.
We lost the police cruiser too, right?
What? Yeah,
Yeah, police cruiser last week.
I think so.
So that's the second?
It's a
So
second.
2 vehicles in the last 2 weeks have been damaged? Or
Well,
3? if you want
I
to
don't know,
consider
was
the other
that like at the last storm?
one. It was
not
this
this
weekend,
weekend.
the weekend before.
Yeah, okay, so that was last storm. I don't know the date of the other one off the top.
So do we have currently 3 vehicles that are damaged or just 2? Because it was one of our trucks that hit that car, correct?
Well, yeah, that's not damaged. Yeah, that's not damaged. I think 2.
So we had 2 police vehicles,
One was-
just one this year?
This time. There was one a couple months ago on Black Hill. So that's 2.
So,
Or was that last year? Everybody said.
If you want me to look at the deductibles, then I can tell you exactly what ones.
okay.
But yeah,
Is that cruiser total the one that they just crashed this week?
I don't know,
You haven't
honestly.
heard yet?
No, I don't have anything. I don't have anything on that one. I'm talking about another one that you don't even know. Just saying.
So we're at least 3 then? Because there was one,
Sean,
one
I
on
have
Black
them.
Hill that went off and got totaled.
Wasn't that a while ago?
Might have been at the beginning of budget season this year.
Yeah. That was a while ago, yeah. Just saying.
The boards and commissions.
Yep.
Selectmen.
Selectmen? Yeah, I know, that's running close, so we're gonna have to do a line item transfer. We'll do a line item transfer out of another boards and commission to cover that.
Which one do you think is going to be money? You can speculate.
Well, maybe tax review? There's 1,300 left in there. So, we'll see.
I've also heard that
Uh,
the PPP, the tax,
That's the, like the assessor reval, like,
yes, the reval committee,
Yeah.
that committee that, I think there's 3 people on it.
yeah.
I've heard that some of them have not been paid yet, their stipend.
Not that I know of.
Can you double check that?
Yeah, I guess Mary Ellen tomorrow, yeah. She's
Somebody-
usually on
somebody told
top
me
of
They had
that.
not received a check yet as of,
Really? Okay, I'll ask her.
Which department is that?
that's,
Assessors.
Board of Assessment Appeals. There's 3 members, they get a stipend. being on the board.
Yeah.
On page 7, question was posed to me by a citizen
Yep,
a while back regarding the American Legion ambulance.
okay.
And they positioned it this way, in that they are not being very aggressive or thorough in
Collecting the money?
getting compensation for their services when
Yep.
it's appropriate.
Yep.
How do we address that? Because right now, we're footing the whole bill,
Yeah,
the town is.
yeah.
we're not going to more than that. That's maybe.
That's a short one.
That's not the whole bill, that may be, if you're lucky, a person and a half salary.
So what you could do, the town could ask them about their receivable
Okay.
policy, procedure, can you see it?
I think
Maybe that would be
work what we
beneficial,
do.
because another question would be, if Medicaid gets cut, is that going to affect their budget? Are they gonna ask the town for more money? And, because I could see that coming.
What other things are we concerned about? Meals on Wheels, I heard, is probably in trouble.
Yes, Meals on Wheels. Like any of the, we have an adult aging grant, you know, but we contacted them at the last go-around when they said the federals were cutting, you know, certain grants, and they all said, we're good to go, you know, everything we called on, we were good to go. So I don't know in the future, you know, like by July 1, it could be different, I don't know. But I would ask them about Legion, about, you know, how that would affect them.
So will you do that?
Of course. I don't know, I just have to find the contact person. Isn't it Jeff's?
I'm not sure.
Ben Jeffs or something Jeffs?
If Jeff can't tell you, if Jeff can probably tell you who.
Yeah. I think his last name's Jeffs, I think, I don't know. Okay.
Do we have a new, I'm going back a page,
Yeah.
a new IT person?
No. So we have a contract with Protocol Networks, and we have this kid that comes in here 2 days a week, Grant, and he helps us out, you know, with any little problems that we have. But it's part of the contract with Protocol Networks. It's for us and the police.
How much is that contract?
I don't know, I could look it up. I don't know off top.
Where's that being paid out of? IT, Department IT?
So a portion comes out of the police IT, police computer, and then a portion comes out of the town IT. Yeah. We try to split it. Yeah, Department IT is what it would be called.
On page 7, the
Yep.
salary vet programs. What was that?
Salary vet program, that's the gentleman that comes and sits in the lobby every week. I think it's every Thursday. And they'll have veterans come in and help them get programs to assist them. Yeah. So it's a gentleman that comes in the lobby. Yeah. Mhm.
On the debt principal.
Yep.
No, Brooke, when is that last payment? The 26,000 is the last payment.
26,000.
It's right,
Yeah, I'll look and tell you, because all the payments went out. Yeah.
Says it right on the next one.
Oh. And that is the last payment.
We have one more July 2025. It's a small one. It's like 300,000, I want to say. It's a small payment for next year. And then on the last page, you'll see a highway truck. We have a purchase order for that, but it's not, you know, we ordered it with that one. So that'll definitely, that's already being processed.
Any more word on Dow Road?
No, I haven't heard anything about that road.
All right, there are no other questions. I will entertain a motion that we accept the financial report as presented.
I move accepted as presented.
All right, motion that we accept the financial report as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Don, seconded by Lynn. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? All Next item on our agenda is review and acceptance of the presentation of financial report from the Board of Ed. I'd like to welcome our business manager for the Board of Ed. She would like to just give us some highlights and answer some questions for us.
So highlights from the fiscal year that we've been experiencing for the past month. As we reported at the last meeting, we had some changes in our tuition rates through EastCon for both tuition and education. And we also got some changes to our excess cost grant reimbursements. So you'll see in my report, the excess cost grant reimbursement, we budgeted to receive $680,000 total. So after the first calculation from the state, we are expected to receive $612,000. They do a recalculation after our March 1st submission, and we will get a final number at the end of March or April, but we are receiving less than that.
This morning, however, at the state capitol, there was a pledge to add 40 million statewide to this year's 24-25 budget related to this because they felt they didn't have enough. So we're expecting, given if they're able to follow through with that pledge. I must admit I was a little baffled where the state had an extra $40 million, but they recognized, I mean, it's February, right? But they made a pledge to do that. We're able to absorb this largely based on the fact we haven't been able to fill all of our special ed positions. But there is a chance that this will come in at or above budget again.
The other area that we're keeping our eye on is capital improvement. You'll notice in the object summary report that line is over. Again, that is because of the work that's held encumbered from last fiscal year. We're sort of put the dollar amount on the report so that way we can have that every month. And as soon as the audit is complete, the funds get transferred into the 2% account if we need to use those funds. Area is for the audit expenses. We currently have the retainer for youth, chip, goods, and Blizzard for the audit expenses. And we are planning to do a transfer from our object 322 or 330 to cover once we know the final expenses. Like Mr. Brenton said, we are using the funds that are held from salaries from vacant positions to cover those overages in those other areas at this time. So every payroll that passes when we know that a vacant position is not being filled, whatever has been held encumbered, we release and use to cover those overages. Other than that, everything's been status quo.
Our teams have also been out clearing a lot of snow. This weekend was quite a project. I have to salute both the town and our teams for getting the snow up and getting the roads done before they froze. There's a couple communities around us that didn't do that, and they still have ice. So I think that didn't get cleared. I appreciate what they did.
Where are we standing currently today as for the ordinance?
Sure, that was the next item on the agenda, so if we want to go to that,
Okay.
I can handle it. No worries.
Do you anticipate any of these, I'm looking at all these different categories and I see a lot of different numbers of how much has been spent to budget, how much is left over in the budget. Do you anticipate any of these particular accounts becoming a problem toward the end of the year as far as a specific shortfall? Or based on what the superintendent has just mentioned, having the state saying, all of a sudden, $40 million. I wonder if you could speak to those points. I mean, I'll give you an example of maybe a specific question. Let's go on to page 1. At the bottom of the page, it says SR services, you're negative 38% towards the bottom of the budget. Is that going to be, are you going to have a shortfall there? It looks like you're
Is that the grant budget and expense report?
I no,
Yes.
oh, yes, it is, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So with our grants specifically, what we do within our system is we always want to use the federal grant dollars first before we expend our local funds. So in our system, we encumber those salaries under the grant account code, so that way we can spend all of those funds first before transferring it to local. So you'll see it's a negative 38%, but if there is something that is fully encumbered in the grant, we spend those dollars first, then transfer it to the general fund. So we will never exceed more than 10% of any grant account code. We're just not allowed to do that. But the way that the system reads is that it's holding those funds in that account code.
But I think to answer your question though, if I could draw the Board of Finance's attention to the object summary report, which I think is one page before that, which is not the grants report. You just flip that page. And we take a look at things that we're running in overages right now. Capital improvements running in overage, even after the 2%, that's going to be running in overage. We're simply repairing things as we need to, with some hope if there is some surplus money at the end of this year, or if there is extra money from the state. In my mind, I've already earmarked that on capital improvement projects, some of which are in next year's budget, but if we can tackle them this year and get them done, they only get done sooner, and then they're not being applied to next year's budget. The pieces there that we look at, that we measure, we always take a look at substitutes, because substitutes is an area where we've run high in the past. At this time, we're not scheduled to run high in substitutes. We take a look at transportation. Transportation seems to be on par at this point. The EastCon special education transportation for buses going up 4% was a real impact. And to give you an example of how much of an impact that was, for every individual bus that we had, you say 4%, that doesn't seem like much. For 4 of those buses, it was $1,400 per van for the remainder of the year. So that had a real impact that we had to offset, but we do that with our other pieces. If you were to say where were we surprised this year, I would say that our gasoline, fuel, and heat are running higher this year than they have in the past, and we're going to have to move to offset that. But we believe we'll be able to do that by managing that. Those things are cyclical based on the weather, and it's cold.
You mentioned EastCon buses. Where are we sending kids to with EastCon buses currently?
So EastCon buses, if we have a student that is special education outplacement, we have approximately 25 students in outplacements. Many of them come with specialized transportation. When we put out those to bid, some of those can be done by DACA. Some of them are combined runs with neighboring districts. So if we in Killingly have one, we may split the cost of a specialized vehicle. Some of them, those are individualized vans. Up until, let's say, December, the least expensive special education van transportation service was EastCon. So we have approximately 6 vans from EastCon driving students through a variety of programs, some in Connecticut, some up border. They're not necessarily EastCon programs, but they were the vans that had the best bids at that time. We'll be looking at that again. So it isn't that they're necessarily specifically EastCon programs. That just EastCon is one of the transportation vendors. Like American Rides is another vendor we use.
Are we transporting to UMC, Barrows?
No, we don't transport to either QMC or the Arts. Those 2 schools transport themselves. I believe QMC has regional pickups throughout town, primarily
It's
along
still
Main
EastCon,
Street.
that's why I was questioning.
Yeah.
What about Killingly and Ellis Tech? How's that?
So the Killingly and Ellis Tech, we are required, Killingly, Ellis Tech, and Norwich Tech, we're actually required to transport to. Interestingly, and this is a conversation I've had with QV families, we were transporting for free to QVCC until about 3 years ago. The reason we were doing that is we were running buses to Ellis Tech anyway. And when they had a new headmaster who came into the school, Diane, she made the decision to change the schedule. It was announced at a regional meeting. Several superintendents said, you realize that stops our ability to run transportation. They changed their schedule for their own purposes, finances, and that didn't just impact our students getting transported, it impacted almost every regional community around us being able to transport. I was actually, if you go back to 2009, 2010, I was on the early design team for QBCC because I was the principal of Putnam High School in an earlier life. And one of the original design factors was that that school was going to run on the Ellis Tech schedule. It doesn't anymore.
Yeah, the times are different.
You're projecting your reserves toward the May and June to be under 4 months. Do you anticipate that being a problem, or is that something that's actually kind of typical for that time?
That's actually kind of typical. The 2 months is the floor that we look at to be concerned. We've been monitoring, the town actually gets our each year reports on where things are. They're actually projecting us either flat or with a slight increase or decrease next year based on claims. So we feel that that's managed well. That actually, our ability to manage that helps us to not have the large insurance increases some of the neighboring communities have next year.
Your maintenance work performed, this is all complete, right? It's on the sheet you gave us.
Yes.
Is there anything coming up that we're expecting on the horizon?
Yes, so I can speak to the fact that we have a hot water heater, PCMS, that I'm going to be meeting with the team on getting the quotes. We're waiting for things to warm up so that we can do some cleanup on the fields. We were able to attack most of the upper fields outside Shepherd Hill above the high school prior to the snow, but we didn't get all of them. There's one of them that we really need to tackle. If you were to go up to the fields and see Shepherd Hill, we've got some gutter work that needs to be done around Shepherd here. You can actually see right on the pink building places where there's kind of dirt and pieces that are coming down. That's problematic. So we know that that's a piece. We've got some tile work that needs to be done at the high school. There's no asbestos or other piece. That's just settling of the building. I'm just thinking of things that we've just looked at very recently.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, is there any more surprises coming down the line this year?
I guess that's why they're surprises, right?
I'm hoping for a little bit of a forecast, that's all.
The one thing that we know for sure is the water heater PCMS. I don't know if Mr. Fidel, Steve, I lost my meeting with my facilities manager for the snow day, and we didn't reschedule today, so we're just in our meeting before Friday. I'll give you an update. If there is a potential surprise, though, I'll send it in my next audit update.
Yeah, just so we have an idea what we're expecting, if possible. I understand surprises are surprises. Sometimes we have an idea what that surprise is going to be before it actually shows up.
I mean, an example of a surprise that just hit us was one of our sanders went down. But the team, they actually sent me pictures. They disassembled an old sander and used the parts from the old sander into the sander so that we were ready for this weekend for the sanding. So they were doing that last week on Thursday. Some of those are the surprise. Now, our trucks are working, our plows are working. That's the biggest piece. And I got good news that Thursday's storm is going to be under 2 inches. So we will have school on Friday. And, right now, most of our maintenance is actually weather related.
We're doing that.
Any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion to accept this financial report as presented.
I move to accept the financial report on Board of Ed.
Motion has been made by Lynn to accept the financial report, seconded by Sean. There are no other questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is an update on the audit.
Absolutely. So I've been sending the Board of Finance updates on Thursdays or Fridays. Those are also in my board packets if anyone wants to see them. I believe the last update I sent was on Valentine's Day to the Board of Finance, talking about our work that was done with the outside firm, which I'm going to refer to as PWIC, since I don't want to say their whole name, and the work that we're doing with Markham. So last week with Markham closed off a few other items in the system that they'd asked us to get. One of them was just clearing out the OPEB. Outside from that, there is no requests that are sitting pending from Markham. I believe Markham is simply waiting for the work from PWIC. We have meetings with PWIC on Friday and then again today. Right now, they're still working to finalize the resolution of the cash. As I explained in Friday's report, they're doing all of the federal grants. That includes the ARPA ESSER, which is a large one, Title I, Title II, and Title IV. Title III is managed by East County, so that's not part of it. We sent them, so what we're sending them is every expenditure that we've had in it, every request, every drawdown, and then when those are coming over, they're mapping that through the same software that Markham uses. So that if they can find an inconsistency where things can't line up, they're able to make a direct recommendation through Markham for a journal entry. We have another meeting with them scheduled. Today is Wednesday. Our next meeting is scheduled for Friday morning. In Friday morning's meeting, we are tackling the non-federal grants. So there are some other small grants. For example, we were mentioning some this morning that come in. PEG-PISA is a great example. PEG-PISA is a technology grant that we've applied for in the past. That goes through. We've actually applied for it again this year. So we'll be tackling those grants. We expect things to be on the original time schedule where I sent you, where we're clearing these things off this month. They're sending them to Markham. Provided that there isn't a surprise, we should be on track with the original schedule, or at least the updated schedule that I sent the Board of Finance when I started sending it.
And that is when?
That is that they're finishing this up and getting it to Markham, and Kyle's setting a presentation in the month of March to the Board of Finance. I don't have a date from Kyle, and I haven't heard anything different from Kyle. But I'm comfortable enough with our quick response to all requests coming from PWIC and Markham that I'd be happy to have Kyle come in and talk about it.
So now we've extended the
Audit to the end of March.
Again, to March?
To the end of March, yes.
Okay.
That's for the financial.
Will we make the deadline this time? End of March? Huh?
I don't know. Why are you asking me?
I'm just asking both these actually.
Oh, I don't know.
To get an answer.
I guess I made a time frame.
Right now, I have nothing that indicates we won't. I can tell you the difference between right now and previously is that every request that comes in, we get together, we talk about them, and they're responded to within 24 hours. That was not the case in previous scenarios. We are a little at the mercy of the work happening at the other end that we're not sitting in the room for, and how those questions are generated. But to make sure it's moving as quickly as possible, our team is the team that set bi-weekly meetings with them to make sure that we can find out the questions, know where it is, and then we have multiple people in the room when we do the meetings, so that if there needs to be something, we respond that day. And there was even a day I can attest to where Mrs. Brandon needed to be out for one of the meetings. I did the meeting, and the questions came up, and myself and Jana had their responses to them before 7 o'clock the next morning. So we're on it as quickly as possible.
How is this going to affect our bond rating?
It all
This
depends.
is the last couple of years, we've had extended audits.
Yeah, the
Now, that
past
affects our
2
bond.
years, yeah, the past 2 years. So what happens is, me and the first selectman will do a call with Moody's or a rating firm, and they'll ask us questions, and we have to answer the questions, and they will rate the town. Does it look good financially? No, but we'll see what happens. I mean, you can't do anything about it now. I don't know. I know I have some reports right now that's due, like Emma filing, and that's like a financial report that I have to disclose, I think to the federal government, about our bonding. And that goes out to the market, and I'm late on that now. because that's due February 28th.
When do we actually go up the bond again?
It all, it all depends on the school and the town, what they want to do. Yeah.
We
So-
wrote a letter asking the town to put together a committee to do capital planning. The last Board of Ed meeting, the Board of Ed voted to participate in any capital planning committee that's formed. To be perfectly frank, at this point, and I put this in my letter to the Board of Finance, I as superintendent have ideas of what the next project should be and what we should bond, but I don't know if that's my decision. It's ultimately a town decision, and I can be more efficient if it's part of a larger town capital improvement plan. There's conversations taking place in town right now around properties, don't need to make you aware, which are not part of any capital improvement plan the town has voted on in the past. So I want to be sure that I'm being fiscally responsible. If to go out to bid and to put out to bond, I have to bring in a construction management firm. We're probably paying that construction management firm in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $25,000 based on the project for them to put that bid together. I do not want to waste taxpayers' money if it is not a project that the town has decided is part of a town capital plan.
I think compared to where we were last budget season and last audit season, we've made some strides. That we've made some significant improvements. I would like to see next audit season when we have everything completed by the end of the calendar. I think that would go a long way in helping our bond application process. I think it would go a long way in creating a sense of confidence. Because I just know that last year when we got to budget season, we were getting questions about audit, and it was, at that point, it wasn't finished. And that made it very uncomfortable to give the proper answers. So we've improved over last year. We've improved in a lot of different areas. But I do think it is critically important that we can have the audit finished, the next one by December 31st, 2020.
Make me very happy.
I think that would go a long way for everybody's peace of mind, and I think it would give the town a real sense of confidence as we go forward looking for bonds, because it would improve our bond rating. I know that when I first came onto the board, our bond rating was right there with New York Citizens. I don't know if it's there anymore, and I think part of that is because we've had some challenges over the last couple of years, and I know that some of those challenges are no longer with us. So we've made some great strides, but I do think that if we can continue to have this open communication, especially, and I appreciate the fact that you have given us weekly updates. I think that's helpful for all of us to understand where we are in the process, what actually is taking place, and what the give and take is between the now 3 participants, Markham, yourselves, and this outside firm to help us expedite that. I think that's a great move, and maybe something that we want to consider to do again in the future if it becomes necessary. But I do think we should be looking at December 31st. Every effort to get there for the end. Because when we finish June 30th this year, we need to be starting on the next one. So we're not running into this.
But in theory, with what that outside company's doing right now, it should be a lot easier. They won't need that.
Yeah.
Again next year.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
100%, that's our target. And we're going to keep them on after the audit is done, to have those things lined up so that we're ready to run next time the software works.
Any other thoughts you want to share with us at the moment on the audit?
We'll keep open communication with you. We recognize the urgency of it.
It actually goes a long way.
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of feeling that there's something being done.
Yeah.
Because you're getting bombarded, like you said, by residents. Why have we not know what's going on? It's amazing how many people actually question that. I could be at a coffee shop and somebody say, what's going on? I don't know.
And they don't realize how involved it is.
I can be out to breakfast and someone asks me the same question.
So it's great to have a little bit of something so that we know some progress is being made. Because in the past, we were just like, are they doing anything? Is anything happening? And we didn't. So thank you for supplying that.
Greatly appreciate it. I was hoping that as first selectman would be here to discuss the next point, which is proposal for the Capital Strategic Planning Committee. But he is not here. So we're not really in a position to make a decision. But at the same point, we are in a position to listen to your ideas. I know communication has been shared with us, but I think if you gave us a little bit more meat and an idea of the concept behind it, the fact that it's going to be a collaboration.
Sure. I think first and foremost, I think it's fully understandable why the first selectman's not here, and congratulations to him and his family. As far as the request for the collaborative plan, I believe that at one time there was a clear path of where we believed things were headed municipally. I think if you were to go back 12 months when we were presenting the reports, and I think it was right around this time last year that we presented our facilities study during the budget process when we announced that we felt, based on the facilities study, we could leave the early childhood center. There was open communication with the community that building would be vacated and possibly put for sale. At this time, that's no longer the clear path. I think the community's engaged in community conversations around that facility and all facilities. And I think as we consider what's needed in the town, we're giving consideration to the fact that they're going to be bonding HVAC projects for next year. And we're well aware that the HVAC at PCMS is in a situation where it needs to be addressed. Plainfield High School is 20 years old now. We're replacing some of those systems, but we want to do things through the federal bonds and the state bonds because we're paying just over a quarter on the dollar when we do things through the state bond. So it's very advantageous for us if we're doing a roof or a project or something like that to plan ahead. And for us to do a full project as to whether or not the school would close or renovate is new, we'd like the town to come in, form a committee, weigh on that. And I believe we have strong people that can implement a plan, but I think it works best if it's a town plan, whether it be one building or any other building. At the end of the day, all the buildings are the town's buildings. By statute, the moment that students stop meeting in a building and we stop using it for school use, it becomes a town building. So for that reason, it makes sense to us to have a single plan both for that and for transportation as well. We're 1 year away from the bus contract. If there would be any changes to those facilities, and I know there's been conversations of that would be part of the planning committee. So that's really what we're asking for, is for a committee to come together and have those conversations.
Things that I noticed in the correspondence is you're not only looking for participants from the two respective boards, but you're looking for citizens' participation as well. And I think what I would hope is that you would have people that kind of step forward that have a lot of experience with facilities of those natures. Somebody that knows about electricity, how that works, and how that impacts daily operations of whatever facility you're working with. But my hope is that we will have citizens that step forward and say, hey, listen, I want to be a part of that, I want to contribute. So I like the concept. I don't think tonight we're in a position to make any type of approval because we don't have both initiators here, so to speak. I do think it is something that we should bring up again next month at our regular meetings so we can have more in-depth discussion on it and have more information to be provided, and then we can move forward in that direction. Any other questions?
Do we have an idea what we're looking for community size?
I don't. But the preliminary conversations that we've had around it is one of probably the first questions I think the committee will ask is, does the community need to get engaged in a town facility study similar to what the schools did? To bring in someone to look at all the facilities, do that sort of work, and make some judgments about what the real cost of maintaining facilities are. I can tell you that we look to those sections of our report when we're looking at things that need to be replaced, when we're targeting pieces, and then also at costs of electrical outages along those lines. That's where, when we chose to leave the ECC, we pulled a lot of numbers from that.
So how many members from the Board of Education are interested?
We have a capital improvement committee of 3 people. I would assume maybe 2 from that committee were probably part of it. I'm speaking for the board without them here.
I understand, but just this question, I just kind of get an idea.
Any other questions?
I don't know that it's been decided exactly how the makeup will be.
Art, you're a member, you're on the Board of Selectmen.
I would have to look at it.
Board of Selectmen.
I would have to look at it. I know you have to stay away from making any quorum of any boards or commissions, so, you know. But I would have to look at the paper, what it said,
What about your facilities?
if they was all on there.
He would definitely be part of the process.
Is he a resident of town or not?
Any other thoughts or questions? Since we are not in a position to make any type of decision, we will table that until next month to possibly add to the agenda. At this time,
Do you need a motion to table it? or-
yeah, I do thank you for
I
the
can make a motion to table the capital strategic plan discussion until our next monthly meeting.
I'll second.
All right, motion has been made by Sean to table it until next meeting, seconded by Lynn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, at this time, I'll open up the floor to citizens' participation. If there's anybody that would like to address the board.
I'll say one thing, Art Gagney.
Are you a resident?
Yeah, of course. With the American Legion ambulance, they came to us last year before the budget, when they,
That's pennies. That's $80,000 pennies for that.
Yeah.
What they're doing over there. And it's something we have to rely by state statute,
Right.
correct? Or is
yes.
it-
Yeah, we have to have ambulance, or EMS
We have to have something.
service, yeah.
And it wouldn't be cheaper to put ambulances for fire departments down here.
Anyone else? If not, I will entertain a motion to be adjourned.
So moved.
All right, that was enthusiastically motioned by Sean, and just as enthusiastically seconded by Lynn.
Do a race into it.
All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.